Would you like an opinion on a financial matter you're dealing with? Whether it's about retirement, investments, taxes, or 401ks, Scott Hansen and Pat McClain would like to help you by answering your call. To join Allworth's Money Matters, call now at 833-99-WORTH. That's 833-99-WORTH.
Welcome to Allworth's Money Matters. Scott Hansen.
Pat McClain.
Glad you are joining us, both myself and my co-host. We are both financial advisors, certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant. We spend our weekdays helping people like yourself. We broadcast on the weekends to be your financial advisors on the air. So this program is about financial matters. Our hope and goal is that each time you listen, you learn something, and hopefully it's somewhat entertaining. But we've been doing this a long time, 26 years broadcasting. In large part, it's obviously it's good promotion for us as an organization, but we try not to make it about us. It's really about helping you make good choices with your finances.
And by us as an organization, we're practicing financial advisors. So we don't try to hide that or disguise that. But unlike many of the financial talk shows you'll hear on the radio, we are not here to pitch index annuities or life insurance as investment.
Nor
vehicles.
are we to say that this whole way of doing things is wrong. And
Yeah. Actually, a lot of the financial planning shows that are on radio and podcast that sell a lot of fear, that at the end of the day, they're selling index annuities.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they try to scare you. Like I hear one, you can't afford to have a portfolio decline by a certain percent.
Yeah.
Like, well, why? Maybe I don't know. Maybe you can.
Well, maybe the index annuity didn't create anything special inside of it. They just packaged a bunch of different moving parts. I mean, the downside protection doesn't come at zero cost.
I have insurance in some areas of life, and in other areas of life, I don't have insurance.
That's right.
So I wanted to start off by imagine this: you're in a room with 100 people. You're an observer in a room of 100 people. Every person has a quarter. And
one quarter.
One quarter.
Okay.
And we want to determine who in that room is the best coin flipper. And you tell the group, look, I would like everyone to flip a coin and land on heads. Random 100 people in a room.
Did you do this in an econ class in high school and/or college?
Not physically, but this is an old analogy. And
okay.
Some of you have probably heard it before. But what would happen, obviously, is the first time it's going to be 50-50. Right? Half the group is going to have heads. It might be a slightly off.
It's depending upon the size of the group.
All right, is 1 million people, it's going to be 50-50.
If it's 1 million people, it's 50-50.
Okay, fine.
If it was 10 people.
You keep flipping the coin, there's going to be someone that flips heads multiple times in a row.
So what that means, right? And especially if that group gets smaller and smaller and smaller, those that actually continue to flip heads gets. So if there were 100 people in the room and everyone flipped the coin, statistically 50% comes up heads, 50% tail. I'm going to ask everyone with heads to leave.
Tails to leave, because you took my analogy. Now you're running with it. And you're switching it. It was the heads. We want them to get heads.
Okay, keep going. Sorry about that.
So my point is with this, obviously there's going to be the last man or woman standing, the one who flipped the most heads. The question I have to you, was that luck or was that skill? And if you can't answer that question, good luck to you. I hate to say it, right? I don't know how to help you.
Please turn the channel.
Yeah, right. But what ends up happening is people choose investment managers based on performance. And the question is, their recent performance, was that skill or was that luck? Because there obviously has to be some element of that with professional managers, just like there's the element of that in flipping coins.
Some element of luck.
Correct. And the question is it all luck? When you look at over a period of time, most actively managed mutual funds do not do better than the underlying indexes they're trying to beat. And if you think about this, Morningstar,
which is a mutual fund rating company, part of what they do.
if you look at, this is a Wall Street Journal. Was this Wall Street? It was a Wall Street Journal article. Meb Faber pointed this out, analyst. The Morningstar, the fund managers of the decade through 2010. So we look, who are the fund managers of the decade? So you're thinking, I want to make sure my portfolio is managed well. I'm going to look at 5-star funds. I want good ratings. And track records are really important to me. So I want good track record. And actually, why don't I look, maybe there's an independent company who's going to go ahead and rate these for me. So hey, this is perfect. Morningstar does the fund managers of the decade. And
between 2000 and
so
2010.
We're going over the last 22 decades here, right?
Yep.
So if you look at those, not one of them managed to meet the market over the next 10 years. Not one.
In fact, one of the best of them became the worst of them.
Yeah, there's 5 top managers of the decade. Not one outperformed the market the next decade.
So what you're saying is the best performing ones were.
Look, if you want to have a portion of your portfolio with some managed positions, great. And maybe you're going to have a good manager who's going to do something well. What brought this to my attention, Art, and while I'm bringing it to everyone else's attention, is Kathy Wood, she's like the latest superstar when it comes to investment management.
She's the Peter Magellan of 2020s.
And the Janice Young Hayes of Helen Young Hayes.
Yes.
Of Janet. She was. They come depending on the periods of time. Peter Lynch was brilliant because he retired at the top. He didn't wait. He probably kind of like, oh.
He had read the article.
I flipped coins 10 times in a row. I got heads 10 times in a row. I am quitting.
He did, didn't he?
He quit. Oh yeah, right when he was doing fantastic. But this fund, she went from $3.5 billion under management right before the pandemic hit. So just a year and a half ago, to $50 billion a year later. Okay. So investors liked what she was doing. They started throwing money into her fund. They said, oh, goodness, this is fantastic. I want in on this action. And by the time most of the money arrived, the hot stocks that she was owning started going backwards. And so when you look at how the group of investors have done with her, their performance is worse than they would have just had an index to begin with. So they're underperforming. Right now.
Well, Scott, but this proves the theory that most investors actually underperform the funds that they invest in because of when they buy them and when they sell them.
They buy the ones that have the hot hand.
That have unactively traded.
Not the seasoned investment manager who's been underperforming. He or she, that might be the best one to be buying right now because the certain sector that they think are great for the future, just the rest of the market hasn't caught on yet.
Which is why there's an argument for a large portion of your core portfolio, you should use index funds.
And don't chase these hot things. I mean, you can if you want to watch your wealth fall.
Or if you're really super lucky and you think you can flip a coin heads.
And get heads 10 times in a row. And if you can, let me know because maybe we'll hire you to. Anyway. All right. So I wanted to start with that because I read these stories and it's like, it's frustrating. And then you hear these stories and they're real people behind all these investors. They're not people with hundreds of millions of dollars that can afford to make losses.
Sometimes there's just someone with $5,000 hoping to change their lifestyle based upon this one investment.
And if you're 30 and it's $5,000, you could afford to have this lesson. If you're 55, 60, 65.
Yeah, don't do it.
I mean, every day you hear about, and somehow there's $50 billion. I'll take a bet with anyone who would like to that over the next 5 years her performance is going to be subpar at best. I have nothing against Kathy Woods. Don't know anything about her. But I know quite a bit about how financial markets work. So, enough of that. Anyway, let's. This program is designed about calls. And
Have we given our number out yet?
No.
833-99-WORTH if you'd like to join the show. 833-999-6784, and we'll get you on the air.
And we're about to go to talk to a gentleman named Scott. Obviously, my name's Scott. We have a lot of Scotts at Allworth for some reason. And I noticed an email that came to me yesterday. It was the poor guy who typed the email, sent it to 4 Scotts. Scott Hansen, Scott Collins,
Really?
Scott Lamb, Scott Gyrich. Yes.
Why? Did he not know which Scott he was talking to, or?
Well, he did. He wanted all 4 of those Scotts, but I thought,
Oh.
I apologize. I'm not changing my name, by the way, and I don't think the Scott we're going to
Well,
talk.
don't apply for a job at Allworth if your name is Scott. We've got way too many Scotts now. There is some sort of discrimination. I apologize. Don't drag me in.
But you do. How many Scotts do you know are 25? No. They're all between like 45 and 65.
Yeah.
Maybe in mid-50s.
We only...
the median age of Scott, 54. They're
Yeah. But we have a bunch of young people named Kyle and Trevor, too. So.
Yeah, and then the younger kids are even different names. I can't even think of some.
Yes.
We have my daughter's friend, she's twin. She's a 10. His name's John Berner.
John Berner, the politician?
Is there a politician named John Berner? That's his first name, John Berner. I thought, isn't that kind of a cool?
Bernard?
Berner. John Berner.
B-U-R-N-E-R. John Berner's his first name.
John Berner. I don't know how he got that name, but
It's interesting.
it's 2021. All right, let's get to the phone. So we're talking with Scott. Scott, welcome to Allworth's Money Matters.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad you joined us.
Yeah, so I don't think this will be too complicated for y'all, but was hoping to just kind of quickly run my financial situation by you and get your reaction, if that's all right.
Sure.
Yes.
How old are you?
32. I'm one of the young Scots.
Oh, you're 32. You threw this whole my argument just thrown out the window.
Are you married?
Don't. By the way, your listeners, don't discount everything else that I've said because that stuff's accurate. Maybe I was interacting.
And are you married?
I am. My wife's 33. We're both attorneys living in California.
Got it. How many kids?
1, 18 months old.
Okay. Fire away.
Yeah, so our combined annual income's about 375. As far as assets, currently we've got about 430,000 in 401ks and backdoor Roth IRAs, all equity, low cost index funds.
How in the world did you save?
He's good at this.
Yeah, but I mean, to get through law school, I mean, you've got a lot saved already for your age.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Those big law firms make you work really hard, but they do compensate you for it.
I know, but this is money in your 401k. It takes some time to, anyway.
You're asking attorneys how they make so much money, Scott?
No.
Do we not employ some attorneys?
I understand.
I'm having lunch with an attorney after the show today. Okay, keep going, Scott. Scott the lawyer.
So,
I'm just saying that for even I don't care how much money you make, to have this much in your 401k at 32 and 33 is pretty good.
He's done well. Okay, Scott the attorney.
Thank you. Our allocation's about 70-30 U.S. versus international, all equity. We've also got about 150,000 in various real estate investments. We own a house that we owe 560 on. That's worth probably about $1 million. And our plan is to continue maxing out our 401ks pre-tax. My wife technically has a 457 because she works for the county. And then contributing $12,000 a year, $6,000 each to backdoor Roth IRAs because we're capped out of directly contributing to Roth IRAs. And
your wife's doing both the 401k and the 457?
No, she's doing a 457. I'm doing a 401k.
But she has she may have the opportunity to fund both the 401k and the 457.
She might not want to.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
If they offer both, she could fund both.
Okay, I'll have to look into that then. And then my current employer also, as of this year, offers a the mega backdoor Roth 401k, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. So I'm planning to max that out for as long as I'm here, and would probably do the same with any future employers who offer that.
Yes.
That
It's a
option.
non-deductible. You make up the way past the normal limits, the non-deductible, and then you transfer it to it.
But Scott the attorney,
Yep.
can you hold 1 second while I talk to Scott, the financial advisor? Scott, you poo-pooed my idea of funding the 457, and then you said yes to the mega backdoor. Why? He lives in the state of California. Why wouldn't you do the 450? So
On a Roth basis, if Roth was the way to go.
Look, yeah, but if you were to, let's just say he had both options available to him. So for the rest of the listeners, in some municipalities, they have what's called a 457, which is technically a deferred compensation plan, and a 401k, which is a qualified retirement plan. They're not the same things. So the tax code allows you to fund both of them to the maximum, as long as you don't go over a dollar limit. So I suggested that she look at the 457.
Okay, I retract my quick answer.
Okay.
I would not do a pre-tax contribution into the 457
You wouldn't. Why?
because Scott and his wife are in their early 30s.
Okay.
I have a feeling their income is going to be much greater 10, 20 years from now than it
Okay.
is today.
But they live in the state of California.
Well, that's why we're going to have this conversation with them.
Okay,
That's why he
thank
called
you.
the show.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry to involve you in our argument, Scott the attorney.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, our rationale behind the pre-tax contributions is just, hopefully by the time we retire, we're at a lower tax bracket than we're at right now.
That's not going to happen
You don't.
unless you plan on moving to a different state. Do you plan on moving to a different state in retirement? Now, you're a long ways away. Hard question to ask.
And who knows? I mean, Nevada's zero tax state. They recently voted, governor signed a bill that allowed for the unionization of government employees. So the income tax is probably coming there. 30 years from now, 40 years from now, who knows what the rest of the states are going to look like tax-wise.
But California is the highest.
Correct.
In the nation right now. Would you expect it to be the highest in the nation relative to the other states 30 years from now?
Scott, tell us what your poor guy hasn't even asked a
I
question.
know, we were just arguing. Okay, so what's your question for us?
You know, part of this, you know what the interesting thing is? So the right answer will be known sometime in the future. Right now, it's really about probabilities of outcome. We're trying to do that. What's the highest probability of success? That's what this whole thing's about, right? And it's based upon us trying to determine what future tax rates could or couldn't be.
Yeah. So
because if we knew tax rates were going to be stagnant, the planning would be very simple.
So you're talking about the backdoor Roth for the overfunded 401k, and then you sweep it into a Roth. So we understand that, and you called it a mega Roth. There's 1,000 different names. What's your question for us? And what else do we know? I assume you're funding your 18-month-old child's 529 plan because you've done everything else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
Okay.
What kind of law do you practice?
Corporate law. I was at a big law firm for a while, and then just went in-house at a company here in California.
All right, good luck.
Yeah. So, I mean, two kind of broad questions, I guess. One, anything you do differently, and then two, anything additional you consider doing if you were in my shoes.
Right now you're for the maximum tax rates for California is at 13.3% when your income's higher than it is today, but you're still at about, I think you're at 9.3% right now of your California tax. For federal. For married couples, when your income is taxable income is between roughly 3.25% and 4.15%, the tax rate's 32%. At 4.15 and above, it goes to 35%. At 6.25, it goes to 37%. Now, there's talk that the tax rates might go up this year. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I mean, you're clearly the target for those
Tax increases,
because you got the high income. That's who pays the taxes. We don't know what future tax rates are going to be. We don't know if 20, 30 years from now, income tax rates are going to be lower and there's going to be a value-added tax. Right? A lot of European countries, that's what the tax burden's not quite as high, actually, for the wealthy, and there's more value-added tax. That could be a possibility. If I were in your situation, I would probably put half of my retirement contributions into pre-tax and half of my retirement contributions into Roth.
That way I'm half right and half wrong no matter what happens.
That's right.
Well,
I mean,
but Scott, so he's got this super funded because he's working for a small firm, or he's working for a firm where you can overfund
and a non-deductible contribution.
And push it into a Roth. So the argument that Scott and I had, where he poo-pooed my idea about the 457 with almost no respect to the idea whatsoever.
It wasn't disrespect of you personally.
I know, but you were right.
There are times when that is appropriate.
But you were right. You were right. I agree with you. So you want to super fund your 401k and then sweep it into a Roth before you use your wife's 457 plan. Or,
but I would do. What would you do? We don't know the answer. The answer's in the future.
Well, I don't know if I would. Yeah, I'd probably go.
One simple argument, Scott, is that the thing that no one talks about on the pre-tax, they talk about you get the tax deduction. What do people do with that tax deduction? Most people spend it. If you were to take that tax deduction and invest it, all right, then we'll be better. The more you have in Roth down the road, the better off you're going to be. If you get retirement, you got $1 million in Roth, you understand the math. But we also don't know, is there going to be an excise tax in the future on excess Roth withdrawals? I mean, there used to be an excise tax on withdrawals from 401ks above $750,000.
But they call them 415 limits or something.
That's another one. But it was called an excise tax.
Yeah, I remember.
It got repealed back in like in 92 or 93.
We don't know any of this. So what all Scott's saying is diversify your portfolio, diversify your tax strategy at your level of income.
That's what I would do.
So you consider maybe for my wife's 457 just having that on a post-tax basis.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where it comes out. I mean, either your 401k. It's actually probably.
I mean, if you get to retirement, you got $10 million in your Roth. There's no guarantee that the future Congress is going to honor what Congress set up 20 years prior to today.
You mean like them changing estate taxes?
All kinds of things. They change all kinds of things.
So it might be easier if your wife has a 457 and 401k rather than use your employer plan. Is just to split it over there. But you get it. You understand the math. Just do it the easiest way to do it when it comes out of the income.
Yep. Makes sense. Okay. And then, sorry, one last quick question. I think I mentioned I work for a public company and I have some equity investing later this year. As a general principle, I don't really like the idea of investing in individual stocks. And I think I've heard you tell other people in this kind of scenario to sell half and keep half. That way you're always half right and half wrong. I assume you give me the same advice.
Well, How much money do you think? How much in the money will it be? Or how much in the money do you have in it now?
When it vests late this year, it'll be worth, with today's stock price, about $120,000.
And the vesting, you selling any portion of it doesn't negate any of your participation in the future?
That's correct. That's right.
Are you giving any money? Are you giving any money to charities?
Yeah.
You can gift that stock, appreciated stock, so that you don't incur a capital gain, even if it's $500 or $1,000.
That's the first thing I would use. I'd use a charitable gift fund. But you're not the normal American.
Yeah, forget about that 50% thing. I mean, there are times when we don't know what to do. So if you're down the middle, you're half right. And don't discount psychology when it comes to investing, because that's your biggest enemy, right? But I wouldn't be in necessarily a rush to sell if you're working for a good company. You've got great savings going on. You might choose to let that stock run for a while and even have it a bit overweighted. Your chief legal counsel at a company. I mean, you've got.
He didn't say chief legal counsel.
That's where he's heading.
He there's a good chance you'll be in that suite
somewhere
soon. You are 32. You're crushing it.
You've got you're able to have some impact on the company, and you kind of see what's going on. I wouldn't necessarily be in a rush to sell. I don't know.
I would use it on the charitable thing first, and then look at it on a year-to-year basis after that. All righty?
Makes sense.
Hey, keep up the great work.
Yeah. And then can I have you talk with my toolless kids? And show them what a career path could look like?
But dress casually when you're talking to him.
I appreciate it, Scott.
All right, thanks, Scott, the
I'm kind
attorney.
of kidding. It's
Your kids never listen to this show.
no, gosh, no.
My kid, I don't think my kids do, but their friends do.
Oh, I'm sure some of my kids. I'm sure every once in a while they'll get something gets back to them.
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, come on.
They'll listen to me when I'm in person. Do you think they're going to listen to a podcast?
Yeah, I'm an old man. What do I
bad.
know? It's different this day and age. What's the rush to get your career going?
What's the nice thing is we can
There is a balance between all that.
we can talk about our family all we want because they won't listen. Wife, kids.
Yeah, all right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue on with some of your calls, which we thoroughly enjoy. This is Allworth's Money Matters.
Can't get enough of Allworth's Money Matters? Visit allworthfinancial.com/radio to listen to the Money Matters podcast.
Welcome back to Allworth's Money Matters. Scott Hansen.
I'm Pat McLean.
Hey, before we go back to the calls, want to let you all know that we are scheduling a 2-hour in-studio time frame to just take your calls because we record our program in advance. We broadcast on the weekends on terrestrial radio. For 2 decades, we did live programs on both Saturdays and on Sundays. And finally, after a number of years doing that, it's like, we love doing this, but when it's the middle of the weekend, we said we need to figure out another way. So we got to the point where we do our program, we record our program midweek, which means that typically we will schedule a time to have a caller. Someone wants to be part of the program, we'll schedule a time for them to call. Which we've got coming up on May 26th. But we're also, whether you schedule something or you just call in during that time, we are going to be in studio for 2 hours, just taking calls on all your financial questions. Wednesday, May 26th, from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, so that's 6:30 to 8:30.
Okay, we're going to do
Eastern.
the math for everyone.
Not everyone is good with math, Pat, as you know.
All right, go to your Google machine and type in what is the time, my time zone, if it's 3:30 Pacific
Just
time.
3:30 to 5:30 Pacific time, May 26th, Wednesday, May 26th, and you just simply call the number that we always broadcast here, which is 833-99-WORTH. Numerically, it's 833-999-6784, and we'll look forward
And
to
we'll
taking your
answer
call.
questions about Roth IRAs. Should you refinance your mortgage, pay down your mortgage? Do you have enough money for retirement? How do I
All the
lower
kind of
my
questions we take.
taxes? Should I buy this big old fat life insurance policy that my agent is trying to sell me? We answer those questions.
Yes. Should I buy a new motorhome?
Yes. Amazing what's happened in the secondary market in used. By the way, I think motorhomes, because motorhomes, you can buy a brand new one or you can buy used ones, but just see what's happening the inflationary pressures
my
on the
gosh.
used car, 10% in 1 month. Unbelievable.
A friend of mine told me he has a boat. He brought his boat in for service. His boat was like 5 years old. The dealer offered him to pay more, offered to buy it for him for more than he paid for the boat 5 years prior.
Yes.
5-year-old
Crazy.
boat. He was like, I'll pay you more for it now.
Crazy. Look, let's talk. Can we spend a minute talking about inflation? We're going to take these calls.
We'll take Steve.
And then we're going to talk about inflation.
And then we'll go back to the calls. We're talking with Steve. Steve, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Yes, hi. This has to do with Medicare, Social Security, income limit rules. In other words, I'm retiring at the end of the month. I turned 65. I can't believe it, but a month from now. And so the employer that I started at 20 years ago, they stopped having pension right when I started, basically. So the pension of $259 a month, and or you can get a lump sum of like $61,000. So, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I think some call was trying to come in here. But so I'm thinking of taking a lump sum, so I don't worry about how many years I live and all that. And so my wife passed away at the beginning of this year.
Oh, sorry, jeez.
Yeah, it's like 20 days from diagnosis to death from cancer.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
And you retire when?
Then the end of this month.
Okay.
And one reason I'm doing, I found out, she was proud that she had a, Social Security benefit, so I can get a survivor benefit started. And then, late next year or sometime in the future, switch to my benefit. But the pension, if you take a pension lump sum, technically you could say, well, that would put me over. There's an $88,000.
Oh, the lump sum would be rolled to an IRA, so it wouldn't show up as income.
So it's non-taxable.
Right. Okay. That's a good.
You can avoid the taxes, and you only pay taxes when you spend it.
Yeah, when you take the money out. So the rest of the financial situation, you wouldn't go on the survivor benefits, and you'd probably stay on it until at least 70, based upon the rules at that point in time, depending upon what her income would be in Social Security versus your income. What other assets are there, Steve?
Oh, there's like a 401k and some equitable IRAs already, so. Actually, Mint.com, I have everything going in there, and accounting my condo and car, they say net worth basically like $500,000, and this is for a guy my income has not been very high, really.
Yeah, and do you owe on the condo, or are you renting?
Yeah, I paid for it all. I own it. Yeah.
Oh,
good.
Oh, perfect.
And you're with the Social Security, the survivor's benefit, and Social Security coming in. How much of is that going to cover your expenses?
About half. So the other thing is, I have, besides the $500,000 thing, I have a trust. Like, I was one of 4 sons of a father who had more than we realized. So I have a trust, almost the same amount as that. So basically, the total of them together is almost $1 million, and they have agreed at least until I can switch to my higher Social Security benefit, to send me like $1,200 a month out of that.
And you said they agreed. The trustee of the trust?
Trustee, right.
And is the trustee managed by a family member or a institution?
Yeah, a bank, bank and trust company.
And there's just some person there who wears a tie that makes decisions on your
income?
Right. Yeah, he's been pretty good. I mean, but generally, there's only been like a couple of times, and I said, I need to get something out of there. But you have to request it. You're not really in control of it.
Well, you may or may not be. Have you actually read the restrictions on the trust?
I mean,
itself?
It seems to me that's a slightly less than a 3% distribution rate. You should be able to have that every year and have it grow with inflation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, they have been sending like of course, with the RMD, there's part of it's like a fourth of it is an IRA, right? So they RMD out of that, and they and there's a small interest amount that comes in each month.
Well, you could. So there's a couple things just to make your life easy. First of all, you could stand for a little bit of financial planning, but first of all, you want to start the survivor benefit on Social Security as soon as possible after you retire. That
lump sum, pension lump sum, have that go to an IRA. It won't be taxable at all.
And then figure out what the distributions. So you mentioned a 401k and equitable, which I assume either is a mutual fund or an annuity. It could be inside an IRA or outside an IRA. You want to combine all of those assets into a single IRA and or brokerage account. And then start a monthly distribution. Then you want to go back to this trust that your father has left you and that your parents have left you, and look to see what the restrictions on taking money of that out. And then I would start an automatic. If you're not qualified to read it, I'd have a financial advisor or tax preparer, someone read it and explain the provisions in the trust, and then I'd start a monthly distribution.
I couldn't imagine. I mean, if the trust is designed that they want roughly the principal to remain intact, to go to the grandkids or whatever, that you should still be able to have, I would think, at least a 3 or 4% distribution. I mean, private foundations are required to distribute 5% each year.
And what you said was there was about $500,000 in that trust.
I mean,
that
it might be a
parents-
couple grand a month you could get out of it.
That's right. So if it was a 4% distribution, you're
Do you
going
have
to get
kids? Steve, do you have children?
No.
Okay.
Well, that one might be even more than
Yeah,
that.
actually, it would make sense. So you need to go, but you've got a bunch of different decisions you need to make. The question,
The biggest thing for me is this trust. The trust was left for your benefit.
That's right, and you should start. I would press to actually not take money out of my IRAs or
Correct.
as much, and do a larger distribution out
Correct.
of this trust as possible.
It doesn't matter what the taxable interest is in there. It doesn't matter what the dividends pay. You should be able to set up a distribution based upon a percentage of the trust assets, realizing that some years the trust is going to earn more than distributed, some years it's going to earn less.
But you have to read the provisions of the trust. So Steve. That's you would be well advised to actually hire a good financial advisor to actually walk you through these steps. Because the funny thing is, you called to ask about the Medicare surcharge on an $80,000 rollover to an IRA.
Right.
And but you have so many more questions. And by the way, based upon what you shared with us so far, you will live comfortably in retirement if you do this right.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you may live actually even more comfortably in retirement than you did working.
And these trust dollars, weren't they kind of designed for this stage in life?
That's what they're for.
Right.
You're 65, your retirement age, you're recently widowed. Like, if I imagine your father's intention was to help at this kind of stage in life.
Yeah, the main ramification was that if I passed away before my wife, that whole trust thing would have gone away from her to the other sons or nephews.
Yeah.
You know.
That's not
Yep,
atypical,
right? And if
This
you
is for-
pass away, the remainder is probably going to go to the sons and the
Yeah,
You
nephews
don't
as
have
well.
any heirs.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why you want to dig into that, and you want to push on them. You don't want to have to
Yeah.
call them every time you need a couple thousand bucks.
No.
You tell them how it's going to be. They work for you. Well, they work for you and
You're a
the
beneficiary.
trust, but you're a beneficiary of the trust.
I was the only son that had to have it. That he made it that it was a trust, and that was because I realized what it was. My father wanted to make sure that my wife's family didn't end up with the money.
Yeah.
Yep.
No. That's not uncommon planning at all. That is not uncommon planning at all.
Yep.
I've got things structured in my own trust should I die today that would have that similar protection.
As do I. As do I.
I may have seen enough situations where marriages aren't always totally healthy.
So you just need a good advisor.
Yeah. No, she was great. I mean, she was like a innocent princess compared to the rest of her family.
Well, listen, look, right?
Okay. I didn't mean to I wasn't reflecting to your wife.
I understand, but everyone out there listening to the show has families, so everyone's
that's what
like
I was
kind of
directing at,
shaking their head, either yes or no. So I appreciate the call, Steve.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you called. And it's always funny when I'm not going to get into family stuff because I'm not going to. Let's talk with Anitha. Anitha, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Yes, I have a question, and I was trying to see if you can help me decide. I am 50, and my spouse is 57, and I'm trying to see if I can retire at the age of 56, which is 6 years from now. And I was trying to see if you can help me decide.
All right. And tell us about your financial situation.
Yeah, so both of us are working, and I have one kid in college, and one hopefully will make it to college. So between the coming 6 years, I'm hoping to support the kids' college funding. So there is not much of income that will be going into 401k or anything that I foresee from now until I try to retire in 56 with parents' support and things like that.
When you
But
say
overall,
I'm sorry, Anita, you said when you retire,
Yeah.
are both you and your spouse going to retire, or just you?
just myself.
Okay.
He will be working until 60 until he turns 67. But I'm trying to see if I can retire at the age of 56.
Thank you.
Yeah, so between the two of us, 401k wise, we have about 250k invested in 401k accounts, and maybe about $50K in Roth IRA. We do have a mortgage that is 80% paid so far. 80% remaining so far, and 20% paid. So, given the situation,
What do you owe on the mortgage?
Around $400K, and it's in California. So,
Got it. And what's your income and what's your husband's income?
total put together around 210K.
No, what's your income versus your husband's income?
90 minus 90, and this is around 120. I'm sorry, 120. Yes.
Yeah.
And is there going to be any sort of pension?
Probably mine. If I work the 6 years, I will get some sort of pension. Maybe about $1,000 a year, but that'll be, $1,000 a month. That would be only after 65, though.
And do you work for a state or municipality?
I work for the University of California.
Okay, so you work for a division of the state of California.
Yeah.
I think you're wrong on your pension. How long have you worked at the state? At the university?
Just 4 years.
So you have
right
10
now.
years.
Yeah, she just started.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 10 years. Yeah, in 10 years, I'm hoping I'll make about $1,000 a month.
So understand that, but
let me just kind of. I'm going to be real blunt here. The reality is, you have about 18 months of your income in retirement savings.
You're not going to retire at age 56.
Oh.
You'll be lucky to retire at 60.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's
I mean,
what I
if you told me your family
Mm-hmm.
income was $70,000, then I'm like, okay, you've done okay saving. But your income is $210,000. You just told us you're not going to be able to afford to save for retirement when you're paying for your kids' college expenses.
And that you owe $400,000 on your mortgage.
If you want to retire one day, then now's the time. Right? I mean, the reality is, you guys didn't take this seriously enough the previous decades.
Right.
And if you want to get serious about it, you can. It's not too late. You're not 65. You're 50. But it takes some serious planning. You guys need to figure out what it's going to take and then make some sacrifices. If not, you're going to find yourself in your old age with a change in your lifestyle.
So at the rate you're going right now, not saving for the next 6 years towards your retirement plan or your husband's retirement plan, neither one of you will probably be able to retire in 10 years. Forget just you.
Oh, wow.
He won't retire at 67 either. So I know that's not the news you wanted to hear, but you asked the question.
Well, you got $300,000 savings. If you're not contributing, best case scenario is worth $600,000 a decade from now, which is 3 years worth of your.
And then once you pay the taxes, the money coming out, it's even worse.
Okay.
So you got some work to do.
Okay. Yeah, we do have at least 10% of my income going into 401k, but I don't foresee myself increasing that with the college and support with parents. So
I think what would be helpful for you is to at least go through some financial planning to see if your current path, what does this mean to you? And if you're going to have a time of ultimate retirement, what things do you need to do to make that happen?
All righty. Appreciate the call.
All right.
All right. Yeah, wish you well, Anitha. Before we take this next call, Pat, you mentioned inflation. What inflation? I don't see any inflation.
My.
No, I didn't notice that the salad I used to pay $11.99 for is now $15.99.
So
at this little coffee shop that I like to get salad to go periodically.
So we're
didn't see that. I didn't notice at the gas pump when I paid $4.50 a gallon, $4.49 to fill up my tank.
I was driving by this little pancake shop the other day, and it had this huge...
Pancakes are expensive, so that's those ingredients.
Look at what your cost of goods sold there, right? And they had this huge sign out front that said $500 signing bonus for a line cook. And I thought to myself,
oh my gosh,
$500 signing bonus for line.
Dying.
Then I read an article where actually they're paying, these fast food chains are paying people to come in for interviews. They're paying you to come into an interview so they could talk you into taking a job. And so you look at this and you're like, what is causing, and I live it. Look, I have 4 children, right? One of them is not working right now.
Is on unemployment?
2 of them are not working. One of them has got an unpaid internship for college, but it's the unemployment benefits. My own family.
Now, the president said that it wasn't the unemployment benefit.
So we can't get political on this, Scott, but
It is political.
It is political, isn't it?
And I got to be, like, I am. If you're a legislature, you got to be honest with yourself here for a moment. The party pushed you here, but this is not helpful. And we've seen a number of states now say they're not going to take the federal unemployment.
That's right.
It was like there's 15 or so states.
You're not
It
helping.
won't be the coastal states.
When the California came out and they're giving more money to people. But so this is inflationary.
California, the state with the highest income, actually, I think, Hawaii just passed California.
Congratulations.
California has $100 billion surplus. Why? Because the stock market was on fire last year. A lot of tech companies, the ones that are leaving, by the way.
And the federal government gave money.
And the federal government gave money.
But $100 billion is not that much relative to the...
A $200 billion, well, it's quite a big surplus.
Not relative to the hole in the pensions.
You don't hear any talk about that going there, do you?
Right.
No. The fact is the stimulus, you keep throwing more money. Both the Fed's low interest rates, their bond purchasing program, they're buying billions of dollars of bonds.
Look,
right?
And we've seen this before.
We're just flooded with cash. Now let's throw more money. We have supply demand. Econ 101.
Look, so we have seen
Learned
this.
this the first week in econ class.
We've seen this before because of federal stimulus and bailouts. And so where have we seen it before? We saw it in the cost of college. What caused this incredible cost of college just to spike? The inflation was out of control. What caused that?
Well, the perception of free money.
And it could turn out to be free. But it was the ease of getting student loans and federal aid that caused inflation. We've seen
kids,
this.
No, kids getting out of college, they didn't shop based on price.
Or
what's the best school I can get into? Oh, I just sign here. What?
Yeah,
oh,
what's the best degree to pay this back?
Nor
right?
that either. Can actually
Right?
get a job in this degree.
So we've seen this. Anytime you have too much money chasing an asset, and it happens to be at this point in time, labor, it's going to be inflationary in that particular sector. This time, it's the economy.
Well, and we also have the supply chain disruption.
It's broken. It's going to take a long, long time to catch up.
My guess is we'll see spikes in inflation followed by a lag at some time in the future. But we could still be very easily building into some underlying inflation that's not going to go away. We're not going to see 6 or 10% ongoing indefinitely.
But we certainly could see spikes of 5 or 6%.
Well, car prices, used car prices went up 10%.
10%.
Look at home prices.
Out of control.
It's bizarre. But be prepared for it. Look, particularly if you're going into retirement, that's the killer. Retirement age. Inflation is not a good thing. When you're young, have a big mortgage, bring it on. Who cares?
Yeah, it actually makes it better for you.
Particularly the bigger the mortgage you have. But we are out of time. Just one reminder, on Wednesday, May 26th, 3:30 to 5:30, we are in the studio answering questions. The number at that time, 833-999-6784. And go to allworthfinancial.com to have some great tools and stuff. And we'll see you next week.
This program has been brought to you by Allworth Financial, a registered investment advisory firm. Any ideas presented during this program are not intended to provide specific financial advice. You should consult your own financial advisor, tax consultant, or estate planning attorney to conduct your own due diligence.